WIBTA if I told my parents I don't want to go back to living with them? I am not the original poster. That is you, intelligent horse. She posted in r, am I the asshole in her own page. Trigger warning. Child abandonment. Less than. Mood spoiler. Honestly bizarre. But oops, seems like she'll be okay. Less than. Original post. July 17, 2023. 7 years ago my F-17 parents decided to go on a world trip. Because I was too young to join them, they arranged for me to live with their best friends who they've known since elementary school. And they were giving temporary guardianship of me. These friends, let's call them Pete and May, own and live on a horse ranch in Montana. So for me, having lived in Chicago until then, it was a huge change. I was, of course, really angry, depressed and sad at first because I felt like my parents abandoned me. Pete and May really helped a lot in coming to terms with those feelings. They've always treated me like their own daughter and taught me so much. I learned how to ride horses and how to take care of them. I help out on the ranch regularly. While attending school virtually, we go horse riding in the open country and in the mountains every weekend with the three of us. They even gifted me my own horse to care for. And I love her so much. Honestly, this kind of life just sits so well with me. I am genuinely enjoying every second of my life. I do have semi-regular contact with my parents. Like once every few weeks. Sometimes a video call, voice call. Sometimes just an email, postcards, etc. But after the initial period of feeling abandoned, I don't think I ever really missed them. Now my parents have sent me a message saying they're done with their travels and are coming to pick me up so we can live together again. How much they missed me and can't wait to see me again. Which I think is really unfair because if they really missed me they wouldn't have gone off traveling for 7 years. And I just don't want to. After living so close to nature for so long, really getting into this lifestyle and spending so much time around the horses, I don't think I can go back to living in the city. I don't want to abandon my horse either. And honestly, Pete and May feel more like my parents than my real parents at this point. WIBTA if I told my parents that I don't really miss them and don't want to return to live with them, and just want to stay where I am? Update. Same post. July 18, 2023. Next day. Update. I didn't expect this to get so many responses. I'm going to try and answer some questions that a lot of people have. Though honestly I don't really know a lot of things either. I had a conversation with Pete and May, but they didn't really seem clear on many details either. First off, and probably the most important one, I asked them if they'd allow me to stay, and they told me they consider me their daughter so I can stay as long as I want. They'd love to have me around. So at least regardless of what happens, I at least will have a place to call home. Secondly, a lot of people mentioned that maybe my parents are on the run from the law or something else. I never even thought about that possibility. I guess it could be true, but I don't really know how to find out, though it's a bit of a scary thought. Thirdly, when Pete and May agreed to take me in, my parents apparently just said they'd go out of the country for a little while. Pete and May took me in under the condition that my parents would visit often. And they agreed. But we know how that went. Pete and May would often call my parents telling them to come visit because I needed my parents. But they never came. Pete and May eventually realized, after like 1 year, that there'd be a reasonable chance that my parents would not come back, despite the semi-regular contact they had with me, so they would raise me the best they could themselves. Asking about how my parents were when they were younger. Apparently my parents have always been a bit strange. Very little sense of responsibility. Never taking things seriously. Always getting in trouble. Guess they didn't really grow out of that phase. This coming weekend I'm going to sit down with Pete to write a proper response to my parents. Because I don't think I'd be able to write a message without getting emotional. Hopefully once my parents read it things will go like I want them to go. Because the more I read the replies here, the more unsure I am about what kind of people my parents actually are. Relevant comments. Do you have a plan for moving forward after high school? I, together with Pete and May, have already been looking at attending an online college after I graduated, so I could earn a degree while still living with them. I've grown so attached to them, the horses, the ranch and the general area that I just really can't imagine leaving for any extended amount of time. So going to college to stay in a dorm hasn't really been something I've been interested in. And it was a surprise for sure. I'm not sure what kind of communication Pete and May have had with my parents during these 7 years. I can't imagine they approve the way my parents have dealt with all this. And I suspect they kept their opinions to themselves for my benefit. Were your parents financially supporting you during this time? And did they ever come visit? To answer these questions, I honestly don't know. I'll have to ask later. I honestly never really thought about that. They never visited. From the postcards I got they pretty much went to a new country every few weeks or so. I got cards from a lot of Asian countries, Middle Eastern countries, South American countries, etc. OOP is voted NTA. Update post. July 24, 2023. 1 week from OG post. So I'm not really sure how posting updates on the subreddit works, so I'm just going to post it on my profile instead. Hopefully it's visible. Last weekend I've written a long message with Pete, focusing on what a lot of people have been saying. Things like that I want to finish my school here, that I'm already preparing for college here, how all my friends are here, those kinds of things. And that because of that, I don't want to leave here to begin everything new again in the city. I didn't write anything about not missing them or anything that could cause trouble. I haven't gotten a reply yet. I don't expect one soon since they've always taken weeks to reply before. Secondly, I tried to do a search for my parents' names to see whether they're wanted or otherwise running away from something, but wasn't able to find anything. I'm not sure if it's because they have relatively common names or because I'm just bad at searching. One part of me is also scared to look deeper. Some people recommended hiring a private investigator, but aside from it costing a lot of money, I'm not really sure if I actually want to know anymore. I'm not sure if it's better to have parents who are negligent and just decided to travel for years for fun, or to have parents who are criminals who were on the run from the law. I guess I'm a bit scared of knowing which one it is, if I'm ever even able to find out. Pete and May insist that they don't know anything other than my parents saying that they'd be out of the country for a while. They have asked my parents often when they'd be back or when they'd visit, but my parents apparently never gave a clear answer. I don't really have any reason to think Pete and May are lying to me, so I think that Pete and May really don't know the reason my parents have been gone for 7 years either. So I guess now I'm just waiting until my parents respond to my message. It's kind of nerve-wracking not knowing what kind of reply I'll get. I don't know what's wilder, leaving your kid and not visiting at all in 7 years. Or after doing that, returning and thinking that you can just pick up where you left off. I initially misread the first few paragraphs and thought Oop was 17 when her parents left and was now in her 20s. And I was already outraged on her behalf. Then I scrolled back up and read it again and realized they abandoned a 10-year-old child, and now typing out how I feel about these assholes would probably get me banned. 7 years does feel like a statute of limitations expiring on some sort of crime, or maybe going to prison for that crime. Abandoning your child is unforgivable though. That poor girl. I almost hope her parents are on the run from the law. Because that seems like the least emotionally devastating option here, but really, there is no acceptable reason to explain why her parents abandoned her for 7 years. I really do hope she gets to stay with Pete and Mary. Any other result is almost unthinkable. This is nuts. There has to be a hidden reason for the abandonment. I did a little sleuthing and found that these crimes have a 7-year statute of limitations. 1. Theft of property exceeding $100,000 to 7 years after last act committed in furtherance of the crime. 2. Identity theft and aggravated identity theft. 7 years after last act committed in furtherance of the crime. Extended limitations statute allows commencement 5 years after victim discovers offense. 3. Financial exploitation of an elderly person or person with a disability. 7 years after last act committed in furtherance of the crime. Makes sense because they would then have the funds to travel the world for that long. Source: https www.criminaldefenselawyer.com/criminalcasestatute of limitations/ilfelonismisdemeanors.htm. This girl should have no problem filing for emancipation from her parents who literally abandoned her. I feel for Oop. She was abandoned by her parents, but fortunately she grew up in a loving home by the sounds of it. I really hope that she gets the closure she needs from her parents. That she finds out why all of a sudden her parents are coming back. If it was me, I wouldn't want to talk to them. She was 10 when her parents left her. They could have taken her if they wanted. At this point, she doesn't even know her parents. She needs to get emancipated from them. Or maybe not if Pete and Mary have had custody for 7 years and tell them to go to court. I really want to know if the parents at least gave money for her care. There's a million questions I'd be asking if my friends ask me if their child could move several states to temporarily live with me. They've got to know more than they're admitting and are just trying to protect her. It's gotta be bad. Seems like the one good thing the parents did is find good foster parents for their child. They didn't even keep in contact reliably. This sounds like the plot to a Hallmark movie. City girl ends up on horse ranch and learns to love nature. Horses. Finds a hunky yet emotionally available stable hand and falls in love, only to go back to the city after a misunderstanding upends the relationship. Around Christmas, she gets her ducks in order. Comes back and they make up and kiss under the mistletoe. Credits roll. Op felt like she was abandoned by her parents because she was absolutely abandoned by her parents. 7 years. Statute of limitations is 7 years for a lot of things. I hope Op stays with Pete and May. This is just child abandonment. I feel for Op. I can't imagine how much pain for those who were abandoned as children from their parents. Every child deserves a great parent. Op doesn't need to talk to her parents, especially after all these years, and based on what she describes, it seems she is in a good place now. I hope Op is able to have a good future. I'm so grateful for Op finding parents in Pete and May. What incredible humans to raise her and love her as their own. Heart. What if they were in prison? They would have needed help faking the postcards, but it's doable. The audacity of the parents. I think the only halfway decent excuse would be if they were, like, on the run from criminals. Or were actually globe-trotting super spies out on a mission for the government. Everything else sounds stupid. I just assume the parents were in prison and somehow arranged to have postcards sent from other places.
If you enjoyed this video, Please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.